obsessed with me.
Who I smoke, Lil Leaky. Who I smoke, Big Meaty. Who I smoke, Lil 2-3 Wonder.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
I was so moved. This is how audiences must have felt when they first saw Olivier play Hamlet. Oh, bravo, boys and girls. Bravo. Except for you. You were god-awful.
Full disclosure, news and commentary number 174, 174, 174, 174, 174. It's Thursday. Steve, you're late. You're right. You're right. Let's just jump into it. So yesterday, Wednesday, we did a tipping point. First one in a little while, and we had Slim J on as our guest. Rob Rod also joined us, and it was awesome. Slim getting a look at AEW, got signed. What can you say? To a nicer guy, it couldn't happen, and I actually mean it. Lots of crazy stuff happened. I mean, Cruel and Tank wrestling each other. It was amazing. The Casey Kirk continues to plow through the competition in the deathmatch world. It's an awesome story. GCW's coming back to center stage, and Slim's going to be on that. It's just a wild time. And, oh, by the way, I'll call it the Georgia wrestling history realm, because it's not just Georgia wrestling. But the SCI has won Show of the Year before, and Pro South has won many awards last time around. And SCI is happening. We're going to look at SCI. We're going to look at Rumblejack's happening. Southern Fried's doing a show. And, oh, by the way, Pro South is having their last show in their building tomorrow. So it's the biggest weekend of the year and in recent memory. Speaking of memory, let's just start jumping into crazy shit. This happened 19 years ago, and I would contend that it's the craziest spot that I've seen in pro wrestling. I remember watching this as it happened. I wasn't there live, but I watched it. And it's still, to me, the most shocking spot. Now, I know people can argue about that. This is a subjective thing that I'm talking about, but just the precariousness of the move, the fact that there was, I mean, it's like, oh, Shane McMahon fell from taller. Yeah, on the crash pad. Like, this is, I'll just let you see what Combat Zone, man. Let me just show you what I mean. I mean, that shit's bananas to me. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. Again, check out that tipping point, if you will. By the way, for those wondering what that open was, that was Brock Lesnar finishing a promo and throwing the mic in Roman Reigns' direction, and Roman just casually catching it. There's something about that I absolutely love. I think it's really good. I think everybody can agree that the WWE has definitely stepped it up. It's much more watchable product. SummerSlam I thought was pretty good. Ric Flair's match I somehow got through. Man, I love Ric Flair. That was hard to watch. I heard that there a couple people had the takes that was one of the greatest matches of all time. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I clearly you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Um, I'm glad Ric Flair lived through it. I'm glad it's done, and Ric Flair's going to do what Ric Flair's going to do. Anything beyond that, it is what it is. I don't know what there is to defend exactly or what to say. I'm not going to pretend that match was good. I'm not going to pretend that match was an easy watch. It was none of those things, but you have to mark the time. He's Ric Flair. He's the greatest in my eyes. You gotta mark the time. But I'm not going to pretend it was good. Fucking wasn't good. It was way too long, etc., etc., etc. What else we got? This. Boop. So, what is that? It's this piece about Ray Gunkel. And 50 years ago, sad day for the wrestling business, as Ray Gunkel, who's there with his wife Ann, died following a match with Ox Baker on August 1st, 1972 in Savannah, Georgia. After a 10-minute bout, Gunkel came away the victor, but he took a heart punch or two from the old Ox, by the way. He died in the locker room. An autopsy revealed he had undiagnosed arteriosclerosis. It's a hardening of the heart's arteries. I remember Moonahan in his book, Sex, Lies, and Headlocks, which is still holds up. It's a very good wrestling history book. Also talked about how he had a lot to eat beforehand, all this kind of stuff. So it was this combination of stuff that led to him dying, So it's the blood clot formed, and then it got to the heart, and man. So Ray Gunkel was 48. One, this happened in Savannah, Georgia, which is, currently the home of a promotion, Coastal, right? This happened a long time ago, but this changed the course of wrestling history because Ray Gunkel died, and then Ann Gunkel had to fight off people trying to take over that promotion. So she struck up a friendship with Ted Turner, which led to eventually Georgia Championship Wrestling being on the Superstation, which also led to eventually the WWF having time, and then them having to buy Vince McMahon to get the WWF off of there, him taking that money and putting it into WrestleMania, and so on and so forth. When you think about how one event leads to so many others, it's really remarkable. And I'm pointing this out now. I was going to save this for the commentary, but I'm just going to do this now. We're living through the most remarkable time in a generation as far as wrestling goes. And that also applies locally to what I would call the Georgia wrestling history sort of hemisphere universe, right? Which I would include Pro South, and I would include things like the SCI. It's an amazing, amazing time, and you just have to recognize these things when they come up. Switching gears completely. So we got the AEW game, Fight Forever. So now they've announced a release date and all of that. We're going to talk about that because it's interesting to me. Fight Forever. The cover looks great. It's actually not a local guy, but a guy who lives pretty close to Georgia who did the cover for this. He's a great story too, by the way. And I think that cover looks phenomenal. The gameplay that they've shown looks pretty good. It's kind of No Mercy-esque, which is as high a compliment as I can give a wrestling game, if I'm being honest. But here's something that's kind of troubling. So this person, they go, take my money. It's $59.99, not out of bounds for a new wrestling game in the slightest, right? They ordered it for the, I believe, the PlayStation 4, which is good. It means I can get it. If it's on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, I can get it. And I'll be looking to do something with it to kind of get my gaming channel rolling again, even though I work all these jobs and I got so much going on. I really miss. I still game all the time. I just tend to not record it, and I need to start doing that again. In any case, look at that release date though, December 31st, 2022. If that doesn't reek of, well, we said we would get it out in 2022. They actually said they were going to get it out at the beginning of the year, and then March, and then April, and now indefinitely pushed back. Now they're saying December 31st, 2022, just so they can meet this year's deadline. I am nervous as shit about this game. And a couple of friends of mine said it best. AEW needs this game to go well, and all indications are that they're having all kinds of problems. And that sucks. Because right now, WWE is definitely riding this high of good wrestling news and shows, and AEW appears to be taking a little bit of a knock. Though they've made some announcements recently, which I think should encourage people. I think the announcement of promoting certain people to vice president in charge of certain things, making sure that Dark and Dark Elevation will be sort of more regulated. They're going to take their women's division seriously. Madison Rain's going to be one of the people in charge over there and doing creative. Tony Schiavone's been given a bigger position. QT Marshall has managed to snag himself a definite position as well. So all these things sort of indicate that AEW right now is weathering the storm pretty well. But that WWE is definitely riding a high. SmackDown over 2 million viewers. You got Raw in that 2 million viewer range. Even NXT has gone up. It seemed people are very positive, and morale is very high. But AEW definitely needs this game to go well. And I think it would be a crushing disappointment if they've allocated all of these resources. Because, one of the stories from the past year was AEW would be in the black, meaning they would be profitable if they hadn't sunk all this money into this game for development and stuff. If the game ends up being a stinker, if it ends up being like that TNA game or that ECW game, remember that bullshit? Fucking terrible. Let me assure you, those games were awful. WWE rebounded from one of the worst wrestling games of all time, 2K22, which was just, or 2K20, which was so horrible. Anybody who wants to try to defend that game as far as glitches and the rest of it, it was fucking unplayable bullshit at one point. They took entire year off, and then the latest one they released, by all accounts, is pretty good. I will not take a chance on it. Fuck that shit. I will find a way to get a hold of that AEW game, though. So we are living through the most interesting of times, right? It's that Chinese saying that people think is a compliment, but it is actually a curse, which is may you live in interesting times. Well, in the wrestling business, we're definitely living through interesting times. And I just wanted to show you with the Ray Gunkel story that we've lived through many interesting times. And one thing changing can affect a whole lot of stuff down the road. Something to keep in mind as we go into SCI, Rumblejack, Pro South having to move venues, and all the rest of it. Mucha Lucha's doing big shit, right? They're teaming up with Major League Wrestling, and they're teaming up with AAA, and I saw, they keep making these talent announcements that are as good as the talent announcements they're making for SCI and Rumblejack, right? When you see Cruel show up on an MLW poster, it's exciting. Mucha Lucha and Major League. It's super exciting. What a crazy effing time. Slim J's getting his due. Again, listen to that tipping point. It's well worth listening to. Battle Slam being moved. Jonathan Gresham, his kind of depression or whatever's going on, it upsets me that Terminus has to be sacrificed for that. And hopefully Battle Slam is a kick-ass show on Sunday. Jabari's definitely going to be there for that. I imagine out of Duke and Rob Rod and Larry, somebody else will be there as well. Probably Larry. I believe Duke Ingram is going to be at Southern Fried. I think, and Rob Rod just posted that he's already in Chattanooga, so he's going to be at TWA's and for all the SCI festivities. So that's awesome. Full coverage there. Larry's going to be there for the last Pro South show on Friday, and then probably Battle Slam as well. And I think Duke is even covering Southern Fried. So again, Georgia wrestling history has definitely become a thing where we have evolved. Rob Rod's putting out more videos, and they're increasingly good. Just really, really, really cool shit. Before I look at the SCI, let me go over. So we had a New Japan Strong TV taping in Charlotte, about 400 people there. Jeff Richards does such a good job writing these things up. Again, you want to go to gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com. Yeah. Southern States report, awesome. Crowd about 80. Battle Slam show got pushed back, but it's okay. KLT throwing out that 368 number. We already talked about how that's bogus, but their numbers are doing very well in the new venue, whereas everybody else's crowds seem to be going down. Now, will this weekend buck the trend? We'll see. How many people can be held in that Scenic City building? Whatever it is, I'm sure they'll be packed, which will be great. I imagine people are going to turn out for Pro South. They fucking better, right? Georgia Championship Wrestling results, 119. APW didn't give a crowd here. That photo of the day of Jimmy Rave, Brian Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, and Kyle Matthews is amazing. Southern Violence and Wrestling, 147 again. And GIPW, their crowd has slipped to 65, but it sounded like a great show. So the new owner just got to figure out how to keep getting 100 people in that building steady or more. Yeah, real exciting. So let's go ahead and look at SCI and Rumblejack. Boop. Starting with, I had sort of a commentary that I was going to say in general, but I've decided against that. And instead, I just want to kind of give an overview of the Rumblejack. Now, on the surface, the promotion for Rumblejack has been a little disappointing in this sense. Most of the announcements of talent made are regulars at Southern Honor. There's something about that that's kind of like, all right, so who's in the Rumblejack? Gunnar Miller, Joe Black, Sal Renaro, Happy Days or Sunny Days, Carly Bravo, Owen Knight, Michael Judas, Chip Day, Nauseacism, who's not a regular there, but Jordan Priestley certainly is. Nathan, of course. These are all... Adam Jacobs being there is really cool. I'll say that. Yeah. And then you have returning, Jimmy Wang Yang and his daughter, who were surprises last year, and this year they're announcing them in advance. Seems like diminishing returns. I'm certainly glad they're there. Adrian Hawkins, and then the Diamond Sheik saying he's going to bring in like an international movie star type. Man, that's pretty underwhelming. It's underwhelming in the sense that there's only a couple names there that aren't regulars. Hopefully they're going to deliver some surprises. That's part of the structure of the Royal Rumble / Rumblejack anyway, is you're meant for surprises. This year it seems like, the story is Gunnar Miller and Owen Knight having to get through this thing and one of them winning it. Again, it's going to play out really well. Every year I manage to see the Rumblejack in some way, shape, or form as it's happening. I will be at work as it's happening, but somehow, some way, I will figure it out. But Rumblejack, the tickets are higher, right? It's $25 for ringside, $15 for general. It feels like, and again, this is just me just shooting the shit, right? It feels like they're hedging their bets on we're probably not going to get 500 that we've been getting. I hope they do, by the way. I think they deserve it. But we probably won't get the 500, but we're going to get more money out of the people that we know are coming. Which is, what is that? That's called business, folks. It's called business. Scenic City. You look at these first round matchups, right? And it's a lot of the people that you would expect to see. Look at Adam Priest on there. But Myron Reed, I'm a huge fan. Billy Starks, you want to have there. Robert Martyr, hopefully, will be putting Billy Starks over. I think it's much more interesting if she advances. Trish Adora against Masha Slamovich is also, I think, a great choice. But who's taking it all this year? I just think that they just have a lot of cool matchups. I think, Hoodfoot and Orion Bishop, for example. I just think that's really interesting. And then the other matches that they have on top of this. Just really cool thing. This really is the biggest weekend in sort of the realm. Let's just call it the realm, right? Pro South's last show in that building. Scenic City and all the thing, and TWA and all the things surrounding that. Rumblejack, which basically gets us towards the end of the year for Southern Honor. Something else I'm interested in are we going to have a repeat winner in Scenic City? Is the person who wins the Rumblejack actually going to successfully become the champion? Because I don't think they've done that before. How are we going to attach even more importance to these big events? And Pro South, who all is coming back? I saw where Wicked Nemesis is already going to be back to do commentary. They're kind of burying hatchets there to pull off something really big on Friday as fast as they can. And kind of teases of, this wrestler went ahead and got his Alabama wrestling license. I think that stuff is so cool. And even though I will be working, I got to find a way to watch that Pro South, man. I got to find a way. I might even do a live reaction to it because I think it's such a significant event. And I got to say this, kudos to Action Wrestling, Matt Griffin, Scott Hensley, to Gary Lamb, to Dylan, to Ace Haven and that whole crew, and the Southern Fried, frankly. Like, kudos to these guys for putting together these things that wrestling fans and wrestling people like me can look forward to each year. That's not an easy thing to do. Trust me, I've done a little bit of that myself. Do I miss there being a sacred ground? Obviously. That was something I took really seriously. That was the culmination of our entire wrestling year. But Scenic City has managed to hold on. I hope they get a big, nice crowd for it. I'm sure it'll get good coverage on IWTV. Rumblejack, as always, they've taken such chances and they have this sort of heat direction that they're going in. I hope the Rumblejack doesn't get completely submerged by the one story of, Contra versus the world, basically. I hope that there's a bunch of other cool things that happen in the Rumblejack. I imagine that there will be. And the Pro South, I just want them to have the send-off that they deserve to have for that building. Let's just get into the commentary. And it's not going to be that long, but I just want to say, Pro South not running sucks. And it sucks because it went from being a joke, being Ace Haven's daddy bought him a thing, and he's skinny and he doesn't deserve to wrestle and blah. I think about all the things that people used to say or think, including myself, and what that show has become, which is to a place where people are made better by being there and working there and learning there and having a sense of camaraderie. There are few promotions that feel like home to groups of wrestlers, and Pro South is one of those. And I went there and got to see everything firsthand. Promo of the year, by the way. And I saw with mine own two eyes, I seen it, that Ace Haven really runs that thing. And he had gone from a guy who probably had to teach himself a lot on the job to a guy who is legitimately running like the production end. They've done nothing but improve. The booking end, they're up for Booker of the Year every year now. And every little element of that show has gotten better and better and better. And there's not many shows that can say that have improved on every facet of the game. And none of them can say that they run week by week. It's truly a huge accomplishment. And there are a number of wrestlers, a number of wrestling people, and a number of other wrestling promotions that actually owe them a debt of thanks. It's really no more complicated than that. When I look at Pro South, I see in a lot of ways what I was trying to do with PCW when we're running shows all the time and that kind of thing. And getting to head down to Pro South, I mean, and GIPW and IWE, which are all promotions that I feel I have a little bit of a stake in now to varying degrees. Looking at sort of the rise and improvement and growth, and there's a lot of that going on in general, right? IWE has improved by leaps and bounds in the last few years. You know, you look at how Southern Honor has become that promotion, and now you look at what Mucha Lucha is turning into, and that Southern Fried continues to plug away, and Anarchy is still around, having survived incredibly dark times in that building when there had 30 or 40 people for various promotions that were running in that building. And now Anarchy's back doing their thing steadily, trying to make smart decisions. But Pro South, man, that's a for the love promotion. There's just no doubt about it. It's a promotion that exists in order to just run a good show. And they ran every week. And they survived so many things that went wrong. And they can't survive this. They can't survive the guy selling the building out from under them. But I have a strong feeling they're going to continue to be around. They're going to find a way because they're needed. They're very much needed. And there's a number of guys and women who owe great improvements to their career or their careers in general in wrestling to Pro South. Frankly, we need more like it, and we don't really have anything else like it. So all the more reason that I think Pro South will be missed in the interim while they're gone. And it behooves other leagues that are in a position to teach and provide homes to do so. I think PCW is one of those groups that clearly does that. And other groups do it to a degree. But let me be this call out to that teaching element is of vital importance. In any case, I got to get going because I got to work tonight and all this kind of stuff. But one other thing I'm going to announce. One, I finished the article and submitted it to Larry. It's this new format where I'm looking at the biggest wrestling story of all time right now, which is Vince McMahon stepping down, Triple H taking back over. And everybody's takes on it and how they fit in context and what the truth is and where's the best place to find the truth. That's what the article's about, and it's going to be released on gwhnewsandnotes.blogspot.com very soon. Something else, what's the other thing I hope to do? Fuck, I forgot. I got to talking shit. In any case, it'll come to me soon enough. This has been Full Disclosure. You guys have a good one. Big weekend coming up. And congratulations to Pro South. It's a hell of a run. And let's hope it's not the last one.